made a few of you co-hosts. Yes. So you can basically bring in, admit people. And thank you for the introduction. I just want to make very, very brief introduction. As probably some of you know, I was born in Uganda. We're born as a refugee. That's where I grew up. We both were born in a refugee settlement. So I just want to tell you that I come from a very, very humble background, and even that is an understatement. Studied my secondary school in Old Kampala Secondary School. Did my A-level at Makerere College, and then I went to university. By the time we went to university, actually, I was in 1984, 85. Only about 5% of the people in a secondary school would make it to the university. So I did maths for my first degree, and my postgraduate diploma, actually, just before I come to that, I had already dreamed to come to UK and study here. When I finished my my undergraduate, I did maths. I got an opportunity to come and study postgraduate and master's. I wanted actually to study master's, but because I didn't have enough experience and had not yet finished university, the British government said they cannot give me master's. I have to do a postgraduate first. Now, the degree, the scholarship I got from the British government was actually intended for the people, PhD lecturers, actually lecturers at University of Makerere coming to a PhD. So you can actually imagine how does a refugee get a scholarship to come to the UK, nothing paid, no sweat, no nothing. And I would like to, one day probably I'll get a chance to give you a testimony. Reason I'm saying this, I just want you to know that with God, everything is possible. And if you distance yourself from God, whatever you do will not be as successful as you want. Yeah. So with God, and I'm a product of miracles all the way from when I was born, being able to survive my young age, coming to secondary school, coming over here, and even settling here is all a miracle. But that is another, I'll share with you at one time when I get a chance. So we wanted, as we advertised, we wanted to do an interview. Let me first of all, we want to do improving your interview skills. One of the reasons I think this is very critical is some of us get invited to an interview and actually either we are not equipped to handle it properly, we actually lose out, or we don't get an offer. If you have been invited for any job interview, if you've been invited for a job interview, anybody who's been invited for a job interview can get a job. What the difference is how you perform at the interview. Yeah. So let's just get out. So if obviously there are some exceptions where they invite you not knowing that you're a Black person, and when you get there, they find you're Black, and they decide not to basically sort of treat you favorably. But otherwise, if you've been invited for an interview, that means you qualify for the job. Okay, so introduction I've done. So what are we going to cover? So we're going also to cover creating your personal brand. But I wanted really, because of the situation you are in now, to concentrate on this. And if we get time, we can do personal branding. So we're going to cover the purpose of an interview. We are going to cover types of interview, very briefly, high level, preparation, mindset and body language, performance, and then what I call SOARs or stars. Maybe some of you have heard of it. SOARs is basically the way you package your achievements in a story. So SOAR stands for situation, obstacles, action, and results. Stars is the same thing. We'll look at it later. Then how to handle open-ended questions, and then the salary expectation question. So why do we do interviews? Actually, if you look at it, the interview is the most important process for both the interviewer and the interviewee to actually determine if there's a fit. Yeah. And obviously, if training and coaching and preparation is actually very critical, because it improves your chance to get a better job, a job that you love, and also have more income. So there are 3 and 4 C's for the interviewer and the interviewee. The interviewer is looking for competence, compatibility, and chemistry. Are you able to do the job? Will you fit into the company ethos and the team? Are you somebody who can actually connect and gel within the team and the firm? The interview, on the other hand, is looking for the 3 the interviewers is looking for, but also you're looking for compensation. Would this job compensate me enough to actually join the company? Now, one thing I just wanted to say as well is I am not going to give you just textbook presentations. I want to be practical. I'll be giving you examples, giving where I have done interviews, and also where I have interviewed people. So in all of these, we'll have some practical examples that we can actually use. So types of interviews. You have a screening interview. Screening interview is really an interview to cut down on the numbers of applications. So they have advertised maybe in the media and they've got lots of applications and do a screening interview. There is a group or panel interview where you go in, either you go in and you meet a panel of interviewers, or a lot of people, more interviewees come and meet more interviewers. There's also an informal chat. Just before I want to comment on informal chat. In an interview, there is no informal chat. If someone tells you come for an informal chat, that is an interview. Yeah, it may not lead to structural questions and stuff, but there is no informal chat in an interview. And if you're interested in the position, prepare yourself as if you're preparing for an interview. There's obviously a video interview. Nowadays, we do actually video interviews. One thing I want to talk about this is preparation is key. And for all these, preparation is key. And we are going to come to that. If you're going to do a video interview, make sure you're ready. What you don't want is after going to a Zoom interview and then you say, oh, we can't hear you. Can you hear me? Test your equipment. Test your equipment beforehand. If possible, get a colleague, a friend, who you actually test your equipment with to make sure they're working. The last thing you want is to your laptop not work, or I would actually say use a laptop, you don't use a phone, if possible. Your Wi-Fi not working, you don't have data. Maybe if you are using your phone as a Wi-Fi, make sure you are also the room you are in is not cluttered. It's critically important you don't have things hanging at the back. And also, the good thing about a telephone interview and a video interview is that you can actually have notes. You can have notepad, sort of written stickers on the wall, but you need to make sure you are looking into the camera. Talking about the camera, you need to position yourself in such a way that your face, you actually, people are not seeing the top of your head or they're missing part of their face. So all those are critical for a video interview. For a telephone interview, I'll come to that. There's also a sequential interview, face-to-face interview. Nowadays, there's no face-to-face until obviously, probably we'll have a face-to-face again. Assessment center, this is what we do when we are looking for graduates, we are doing graduate recruitment, and a telephone interview. Telephone interview, you have to regard it as also like a video interview. Dress up. Even if people cannot see you, don't do your interview in your gown. The way your physical preparation also prepares your mind, prepares your voice. And also, if I can say this, if you have a telephone interview, try to stand up. Your body, you need to prepare your body. Your body position needs to be perfect because you need to speak from your lungs. Anyway, we are going to get into maybe when we are talking the nitty-gritty of the interviews, we probably touch some of this. If you have a question, please write it. We'll have a chance for question and answer after this, and then just before the branding. Okay, so interview checkpoints. Before you attend an interview, I cannot actually emphasize enough preparation. Preparation is key. If you find yourself you haven't prepared for one reason or the other, see if you can reschedule the interview. Do not attend an interview when you are not prepared. I don't know if it was possible, I'll actually shout over the hill and tell you about this. So, things you need to do: research the organization, people, interviewers. One thing I want to say is, if you have a hiring manager and you know who it is, research on the hiring manager. Know who are going to interview you. If you don't have that information, get to the recruiter, to HR, and get that information. Look them up in LinkedIn, look at the organization, their websites, their performance in terms of the financials. Then know the job details and how you match to that job specification. Establish what the selection process is. What you want to do is you need to know, is this, how many interviews am I going to do? Roughly how long is it going to take? What's the selection process and all that type of stuff. Refine your introductory positioning statement and exit statement. It is very, very important for you to be able to prepare your introductory and positioning statement. And also at the end, the exit statement. We can talk about this in more detail later. Look at it, identify your unique selling points. You are competing with other people. What makes you unique? What makes you the ideal candidate for the position? And also select appropriate achievements in terms of, and put them in the SOARs and stars, and you're going to look at that. Prepare your high gain questions. Do not ever say, when they ask you, do you have questions? And say, no, I don't have questions. If you say you don't have questions, 90% you will not get the job. Yeah. Consider how you close the interview. Thanking people and whatever. One thing I just wanted to say as well, when you are closing the interview, make sure you familiarize yourself and we are going into that with where you are being interviewed. You know where you are entering from and where you're going to come out of. I've seen people who, after the interview, because of some nerves and stuff, they actually start going into some offices, if there are offices around, instead of using the exit. So before the interview starts, familiarize yourself with the where, the room, how you get out, and also if you ask if there is, of course you have asked when you arrive about the conveniences and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So preparation. The interview success is about preparation, and I can't emphasize that again, mindset and performance. So let's go in more detail. In preparation, the first thing you need to do is actually become a detective. Look at the job description. Dissect it. Make sure, and if you look at it closely, you will actually have a clue of what question you're going to ask. Also, the other thing about being a detective in a job description is to make sure you match what they're asking for. Obviously, that means you've decided you are going to the interview, you're going to look to work for that company, you have done all that. So look at the job description. The job description normally is in 4 sections. There's the overview that gives you the basic introductory to the job. There's the job role and responsibilities. That one, you need to look at it line by line and also see how your skills and your qualifications match those, the responsibilities. Obviously, there's also the qualifications, and also there's the wish list or desired attributes. Now, in your positioning statement, after you've understood this, you can actually format your answers or do your answers in such a way that they address, even before they ask questions, they address some of the roles and responsibilities and also their desired attributes. Okay, preparation again for the interview. What to wear? Determine the dress code prior to the interview. Yeah, can you hear me? Can somebody, I've seen that there's, can you confirm if you can hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so determine the dress code prior to the interview. I have seen, do not, you need to dress to be comfortable. Do not go and buy shoes and clothes that you normally don't wear just in preparation for the interview. Yeah, you need to dress to be comfortable. I've seen a lady who has come to an interview with the high heels, and she was in a rush. She comes in through you go and you pick her up from the reception, you go to the lift, you go up to where you are going to do the interview. And in most cases, by the way, most companies have their interview, their interview offices are normally like high up in their buildings. And she was going to get out, her high-heeled shoes got stuck in the lift, between the door and the lift, and it broke. So please dress to be comfortable. It's not a fashion show. You need to be obviously smart, but don't overdress. Also, do not use a lot of perfume, aftershaves, and that type of stuff. As soon as you go in and everybody, you're going to have cover the whole room with your fragrance. Yes, use the antiperspiration. Maybe if your perfume or your fragrance is not that strong, you can use it, but don't overuse it. And if, in terms of dress, when you're in doubt, dress up one level. And this, you will be able to know what the dress code is. So they will tell you, HR will tell you. But the most important thing is keep calm and be prepared. Yeah. What to take with you are copies of your CV. Don't assume because you send the CV, everybody who is interviewing you will have the copy. So it's good to have a CV, copy of the CVs. Then references, if you need to give references, list of questions to ask, pen, notepad, samples of your work. If this is something like creational work, some people, are very creative and they have the samples of work to go and show, and also the job description. Second, thirdly, know how to get there. Plan your route. Arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. Do not turn up 1 hour early or turn up when you are late. Remember, and also you want to remember the interview begins as soon as you enter the building. So be respectful to the reception. Everybody, even the porters, you need to be respectful and know that's where the interview has begun. Preparation. Obviously you've already known what they want, and what you need. When you have you've done your career, you have to have done your career that it matches what they want. Also, you've prepared your SOAR stories. And we're going to look at this. The interview, let me talk about interview mindset. You need to go in a position of saying, I will get the job. Obviously, you don't have to be complacent, and you don't want to be to just but you need to go with the mindset that I can get this job. I'll get this job. So achieve the right focus. Center yourself. When you're sitting, if you're sitting, center yourself in a place where you can go to. But when you sit, you need to be able to say you are centered, where people or everybody can see you. Develop a positive perspective. You be positive. Even if they challenge you and they ask awkward questions, you need to be positive. Visualize yourself in the role. One thing I want to just say to add to this is that when you are going into the interview and you actually feel you have nerves and stuff, assume you are a consultant. The company needs something from you and you can offer it. When you go in with that perspective, you do not have, because you see, an interview is two-way. They want you and you want them. So it's not one-sided. One thing that people don't remember is as if the company is doing them a favor. No, you are on an equal footing, and that's how you should say it. And then also believe in your strength and align them with the job, with the role. Be aware of the style, the chemistry, the culture for the company, and also put in the right energy into your message. Intonation, the way you, the way you say what you say. It's not what you say, it's also how you say it. And as I just put on the bottom there, it's all about reassuring the interviewer that you have what they need. Each time they ask something, consider what it is that they are really asking you. Tie it to the job, to the role. Yeah. So these are the SOARs. SOARs is the situation, objective, action, and result. So you need to be able to write your basically you want to tell a story. All of us like a story. So whatever your achievements are, put them in a story. Define what the problem is, and then what your objective or your task is, then what you did to actually solve the problem and the results. If you actually nail those things, there is no reason why you can't get a job. And obviously, you need to give it the weight. Situation, don't go into a lot of detail. Yeah, talk about, let me probably give you, let me give you an example. When I went to this the job the current role I have. I did my interview last year, 2019, in April, and I didn't need the job. I didn't want a job. I wanted to be self-employed. And actually, one thing I want to just tell all of you guys, if you can actually be able to, to self-employ yourself or employ other people, even that's great. But so I had worked for Morgan Stanley for 19 years. I left the firm because my bosses in New York wanted to give my role or my position to somebody else who was their friend. And they started concocting a lot of, sort of stories and stuff. Anyway, I decided after 2 years trying to hang on to the job, I decided enough is enough, and I left. So when the CITI, who I work for now, came to me, they actually didn't know. This is how God works. They didn't know I had left the job, but they came and basically sort of, asked me if I can take a position. Anyway, to cut the long story short, when I went to the interview, I was invited for an informal chat by my current manager. I went there. We spent something like an hour talking about things and stuff. It wasn't structured. However, when I did 5 to 6 interviews. I did one interview with the recruitment, one interview, informal chat, as they put it, with my hiring manager, 2 interviews with some stakeholders, people who work with the business, and 2 more interviews with the business managing directors, 1 interview with the global head of commodities. So I had to basically sort of prepare my source in such a way that I can adjust them depending on whom I was talking to. So I'll give you one example. So while in 2015, in 2008, after the financial crisis, Morgan Stanley was forced to sell their physical oil business. I was heading electronic trading globally, and also production in terms of technology for EMEA, which is the EMEA, European and Asia markets, and also APAC, which is Asia and Pacific. So when I was the one who was supposed to work in terms of prepare, in 2008, we were told by regulators, we cannot continue having a physical oil business. Now, I was responsible for making sure we package the oil business in terms of support and critical flows, so that we can actually sell it to prospective companies. So I had to use that example as an achievement for me in my source. So situation, we have to get rid of physical business. Secondly, the situation, we can't keep it. We have, and for some of you who don't know, Morgan Stanley used to own actually a lot of the liners and some sort of refineries and that type of stuff. So we had to basically, it was a big business of part of Morgan of Commodities business. So I say situation, we have to get rid of the physical oil business. It's a requirement by regulators. So there is nothing we can do about it. We have to get rid of it. The objective was to make sure the company didn't want to spend money. So I had to use the systems we have to be able to segregate the physical business and the futures business, because the physical business would be sold off. And also the action then go through what I did to separate those 2 businesses, and result, we were able to sell the business, and we were able to sell it in time, and the clients were happy with the work I've done. So that's some sort of source. So you need to be able to customize your achievements in some of in a similar situation. The other one, the other acronym they use is STAR, which is situation, detail the background, provide the context, where, when, the task, describe the challenge and the expectation, what needs to be done and why, action, elaborate on your specific action. You need to talk about your role. A lot of people and many people whom I have interviewed, they say we. We doesn't cut it. You need to be, you don't tell lies, but you need to be able to say what you did, because the interviewer is looking for what you did, not what the team did, because they are not giving a job to a team. So what did you do, how, and what tools did you use? Explain the results, accomplishment, recognition, savings, and quantity. And I can, I can tell you, I had something like 5 SOAR stories, which I actually used very, very effectively. So let's go to, let me just watch on the time. Oh, when you're invited for an interview, that is your chance to make the first positive impression. If you blow it up, you will never get a second chance to make a first impression. As they say, it's a first impression. So plan your first impression. Prepare, practice your positioning statement to create a good rapport with the interviewer. Just to give you, just probably to give you some example, when I started Morgan Stanley, when I went for an interview in Morgan Stanley, the recruiter or the agency which sent me had sent everybody they had on their books, and Morgan Stanley had rejected them. And they had actually not wanted to send me because of my accent and I am Black. So they didn't think I can make it. I can actually succeed. But before I went, I made sure I researched the interviewer, the company who was the hiring manager, the company. I can tell you, when I got there, I went in, as soon as I walked into the building, marble floors and whatever, I looked and said, my goodness me, I don't think I'll get a job here. And sometimes there are those doubts, So I went in the lift, met the hiring manager. We started talking. He had gone to University of London in King's College. I had gone to King's College. By the time we started talking, the interview was about a casual chat. Yeah, he put aside everything, all the questions he had prepared, and we started talking about King's College and that type of stuff. And I can tell you, within 5 minutes, I had got the job. 5 minutes. When I got out and called the agency and told them I had got a job, they thought, they actually didn't believe me. They thought I was, they had sent here 5, 6 people who had more experience than I had and had been rejected. So they decided to call me into their office, and then they spoke to my hiring manager secretly to see if what I was saying was correct. So I just want to emphasize the how aspect of doing your preparation. So make the real good impression of you, determine beforehand what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on in your career, and I know some of you are actually just students and probably don't have a long career behind you yourselves, but you have education and that type of stuff. But you're going to say, you need to determine beforehand what you're going to talk about. Yeah, it's critically important. So the goals of the interview. The interview goals is to understand your experience, skills, and competence, determine your fit into the culture, and I think we talked about that, assess personal chemistry, and compare you with other interviewees who is going to interview. Yeah, and the interviewee's goal is to showcase your experience, skills, and competence, present your interests and fit, establish a rapport quickly, you have 30 seconds to establish a rapport. That's a very short time. So if you do not prepare your positioning statement, you're going to lose your interviewers within 30 seconds to a minute. And then quietly assess the match with your needs. By the way, as I mentioned, interview is a two-way process. You can turn up on an interview, and within the interview, you actually know that you don't want the job, you don't want to work for the company, and that type of stuff. Now, if that happens, please do not become arrogant and stand up and walk away. You need to be professional, go through with the interviews, and basically, when you're coming from there, you just say, I don't want that job. I went to for an interview with a company, and I'll tell you the name of the company. It's Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse is a Swiss company, but it's international. I went there. As soon as I got in, and I was being interviewed, within the first 10 minutes, over a 3-hour interview, I had determined I don't want to work for Credit Suisse. Now, I had a conflict. Do I waste 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 50 minutes sitting through these interviews, or do I just walk away? I had decided to sit through the interviews, but as soon as I walked away, I actually told the guy, the hiring manager, I said, I don't think your position matches what I'm looking for. But you need to be professional. So, and he, as I always say, there's only one interview question. And what is it? It is what do you want and what they need. It's always a balance. It's not the company doing you a favor. It's not you doing a company a favor. All of you have what the other need. Yeah. Okay, interview mindset. And I think I touched on this a few minutes for a short time. Zoning, achieve the right focus, center yourself. I think I did say this. So let me talk about now the importance of communication. So there is the words you say, the body language, and voice. And you can actually see body language. I don't know if you can see the colors. Body language is contributes 55% to your communication. Voice 38%, and your words contribute 7%. 7% of whatever you say contributes only 7%. So let's go in. So I talked about dress. Please dress comfortable and appropriate. Body language, non-verbal. You can see the section of non-verbal. Non-verbal is critical. The verbal contributes a very small percentage of the pie. The interview starts with a handshake. Make sure you have a good handshake. First of all, make sure your hands are not sweating. There is nothing as bad as going to greet somebody you're going to interview and you hold them and the hands are sweaty. Have a handkerchief, go to the toilet and get a tissue and dry your hands before you meet your interviewer. Yeah, so a good normal handshake. For men, please do not hold the hands too firm. It's also, that's negative. Normal handshake is make sure your grip is good, but it's not very firm or too firm. The other one is a handshake where somebody is just giving you a hand and almost withdrawing it as soon as you held it. Do not lose your offer or the interview at the door of the handshake. Yeah. Positive body language. Be open. Open means you are welcoming, you are attentive, your whatever, and closed the hand, sort of crisping your hand seems as if it is negative. And by the way, let me tell you, people don't just look out for them and say, oh, he has a closed body language, so he's not into the job. Those things are things we think about as interviewers. And even people, when they go, you say, how did you see him? You say, I don't know. And when you actually probably remember, you find that they had crossed legs, they had actually closed the body language, and they didn't have, use your palms, open palms, as they show welcoming, they show interest and that type of stuff. Relaxed facial expression, yeah. Smile whenever you can. Don't over smile, obviously. The upright posture combined with the open facial expression, open body position. That means use your hand gestures to your advantage. They actually speak volumes. Yeah. Make eye contact. And this I need to say this. For us, some of us who grew up in Africa, we have been told that looking somebody in the eye is rude. One thing we need to shed when you're going to an interview or whatever, I know you guys, you are young people, and many of you are young people. You need to make eye contact. Eye contact. If you don't make eye contact, you actually start from the back foot. Yeah. Especially for men, making eye contact is not gazing. Don't hold your eye contact too long until it becomes comfortable. Do not allow your eye contact to veer into a place of intimacy. And this is normally for the men. This is not, it's not a date for a partner. It's a date for a job. And actually it's a date as well, but it's not that type of date. So, make eye contact. And if you think it is actually getting uncomfortable, look away and then come back and maintain your eye contact. Yeah. Use your hand to show approachability and openness. You can Google, pay attention to your posture. Do not bend so much and do not lean back a lot. So I just wanted us to look very briefly on open-ended questions, and then we can have some questions. So the question you will get in maybe 99% of the interviews is, tell me about yourself. This is like giving you, take the opportunity. You need to use it. This is a golden chance. This is a golden chance to market yourself. Some people think it is, how do I do this? Tell me about yourself. It's actually, describe yourself professionally. You don't have to go through where you are born, all the schools and that type of stuff. Consider your answer to be a 30-second commercial or an elevator pitch. If you have prepared your positioning statement, you will nail this. And make sure you tie it back to the job you are being interviewed for. State your skills and experience and how they relate to the position. So basically what an interviewer is looking for is, who are you? Yeah. Now, if you start sort of wandering and going on for a tangent, you lose people. They want you to make a brief introduction of your professional self. What's your expertise? And what do you want? Why do you want this job? So those are the questions basically. If in your positioning statement, you can capture this, then you've nailed it. Who are you? What sort of skills do you have? Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is, don't assume your hiring manager has read your CV. There's so many times when I've gone to interview somebody and haven't had a chance because of work to read through the CV, or have just glazed. So don't assume they have read your CV. Yeah. And then what do you want this job? You need to be able to articulate why that job is, why you fit, you are a perfect fit for the job. You see, this tell me about yourself gives you control. You know, this is the rare occasion where you have control to say whatever you want to say without having to respond to a question they're asking. So, you know, take advantage of tell me about yourself. If you've prepared, this would not be a problem. So, an important place of authenticity: be genuine. Don't lie. Yeah, be genuine. Tell a story. If you tell a story, people will remember stories better than going through whatever. See if you can actually package your tell me about yourself in a story. Yeah. The stories, they basically communicate values, conviction, strength, and goals. If you tell a story, you can be sure they'll remember along when you're gone. The other question is, what do you want? Why do you want to work here? That's key. So there is nothing as bad as interviewing somebody who is just trying to, maybe they don't have a job, they have mortgage payments, they can't get a job they want, and they're coming in to just, get a job until they get something else. Yeah. So they want to see how you fit they want to see how you fit into company culture. If you are going to stay for a long time, or you are using it as a stepping stone, something else. I have interviewed graduates, and believe me, this comes out very, very quickly, who want to maybe to go into the business and go into trading and whatever, but they want to come through technology. But then, you actually ask them, and that will come out. This is where that comes out if you have an ulterior motive, or you are there for a short haul. Your plans, understand your priorities, and if you know about the company, and if you've done your research. So do your homework. If you don't do your homework, forget even going for interview, unless you're using it as just a practice. So what are your greatest strengths? This is another question that is actually an opportunity for you to market yourself. Yeah. If you have spent time finding out your and these selling points and whatever, we'll find it when you get more details when we go to create personal branding. So if you spend enough time discovering your key selling points, this will not be a problem, because you know your strength. Practice to be confident and comfortable at selling yourself. It's awkward. Sometimes when you do it the first time, it's awkward. Yeah. And especially, let me talk to the ladies. Ladies are not very good at actually being able to sell themselves. They are not all of them, but most. They being able to sell yourself is not something we have seen it in most of the interviews I've done. The CV is good, but when you talk to them and tell me about your strength, they struggle. They think they are blowing their own trumpet. They actually don't want, they would rather talk about somebody else and, in a positive than talking about themselves. So you need to be able to sell yourself. You need, you need to practice. It's essential to practice selling yourself and out loud before the interview as your interview preparation. The more you practice it, the more it will become natural. So you need to practice selling yourself. You have achieved this stuff. You're not lying. You should be able to market yourself. So, and then the other dreaded question about what is your greatest weakness? Personally, I don't ask this question, and I don't like it. And a lot of people don't like it. However, if they ask it, you have to answer the questions. You can't avoid the question. There is also this whole idea of turn a positive into a weakness, like, I'm normally a perfectionist and blah, 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 blah. All that the interviewers will see through them. Raising red flags. Let me say, what's your greatest weakness? Oh, I struggle to get up in the morning. That's something you should not bring up in an interview. Or give a funny answer and make it a joke. You should not do it. You need to state a genuine weakness which does not lose you the job offer. The weakness that is outside the key responsibilities that also, they will not jeopardize the role, and demonstrate how you are working to address it. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, if the role I'm going for is nothing to do with leadership, I can say, I struggle with delegation. And that's a big weakness. I want to do things myself, because when I do it, if you want to be done perfect, you do it yourself. And then you need to be able to turn it around and say, however, I'm doing a course on delegation. My boss has given me, some of the responsibilities. I'm working on a project where I'm learning how to delegate. Be able to actually see that you know your weakness. Everybody has a weakness. If they say, what's your greatest weakness? And you say, I don't have any, that is being arrogant. Everybody has a weakness. But you need to choose a weakness that doesn't blow the job offer away. And then, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then sometimes you even want I've seen some people, you ask them a question and they feel like, either if they're Christians, they want to go and pray and ask God to give them some guidance on where they'll be in 5 years. Things change, and that's true. But if they say where we'll be in 5 years, you need to think about this well in advance. Yeah, they want to know your long-term career. Now, if you are using this job, if you don't see yourself with the firm for 5 years, don't tell them, no, I'm not going to last here for 5 years. And as I just mentioned here, if your plan is to join NASA and become an astronaut, this is not the time to broadcast it. Because if they find out that you're just here for a short haul, you will not get the job. And if things change, they change. This is not about lying. If you like the job, you'll be there for 5 years. When I joined Morgan Stanley, I didn't know I was going to be there for 19 years. Yeah. Okay. There are other sort of behavioral questions, which they will ask. And it is, to do with teamwork, problem solving, conflict resolution, how you handle the failure, leadership, if your position is with to do with leadership, and also accomplishments. Again, the purpose is the past behavior. They want to see if some of the challenges they are having, you actually faced them, how you dealt with them, and because they feel that the future behavior, the past behavior predicts the future behavior. And also premise, the interview wishes to seek an understanding of your past experience. This is another way of trying to get more details. And also, obviously, if you have used the SOAR stories or STAR, you will have a success factor for any of the most important topics or behavioral questions they're going to ask you. Okay, I think the last one is how to handle the salary expectation. And this is, again, this is where a lot of our ladies, and actually it's not only Black ladies, even white ladies, the pay gap between men and women is big, partly because of this. Now, if you are moving jobs, it's your chance to get a good salary increase. So obviously, this is not the sole focus of you looking for a job. If you're looking for a job for money, that's a wrong way to look for it. That's a wrong motive to look for a job for money. You need to look for a job which you enjoy doing. Money is something that comes as a product, as a byproduct for that. However, if you enjoy it, it's good for you to be paid handsomely for it. Yeah. So if the manager, first and foremost, this should never come from you as an interviewee. You should not go, especially in the first, in the sort of beginning sessions of your interview, and start asking how much is this role going to pay? Yeah, I was I had an interview. I was having a one-to-one with one of my directs in North America, and then she said, I need, my salary need to increase up to, she said a figure that's, it's almost like 50% more than she's getting. And I looked and said, how did she get that figure even? Yeah. So when the hiring manager asks you that questions, they want to find out if they can afford you. They also want to find out if you know your worth. So in your preparations, you need to, when you find out about the company, find out their pay scales. LinkedIn Learning has some pay scales guidance. I think there are some other websites which I have forgotten the name. Find out how they pay for your position. If you're going for an interview, one of the things you should have found out is how much does this role attract, and also know, because of your education, your experience, and whatever, how much that is going to attract. Also, don't be shy to go to the top end of the scale. The other thing, of course, is when they ask you the first time, what you don't want is to, they may ask you, and then you say, what is, you can actually go back if you're not ready to talk about salaries. It will come anyway. You have to answer that question. You can say, I'm more interested in the career and that type of stuff. I know, like, for example, before you can say, I know you pay fairly. I know your company has a good pay scales, and we can come to that later if it is in the first area in your interview. If they insist for you to give them maybe they are impressed with you and they want to know. So you do not give them a specific number. Give them a salary range. Break it into two parts. If the salary attracts a base and bonus, break it into two parts. Let's say, for example, it is, let's say it's 100,000 for argument's sake. You just say, okay, I will, obviously you've researched your role. You say, I'm looking for about 70 to 80,000 base and about maybe 20 to 30,000 bonus. Yeah. So, it's if they're asking you for a reason, so don't shy away from it. And don't, and if you don't prepare for this, it will be a surprise to you. If they ask this question and you haven't thought about it, you haven't done your research, and if you have done a research, basically tell them, I've done a research, I've used the LinkedIn, I've used this website and whatever. I think my position and my skills, I think I'm worth this, and give them a range. Yeah, I think, so these are the checkpoints I talked about. I think I've actually taken longer than I expected. I'll open up for questions. And thank you so much for listening.